Hey yo, G Dash, boy, take your hat off. Fine. This week on Hats Off with G
Woo!
Dash Jones.
Y'all know what it is. Oh, let's get it. Woo! Y'all know what y'all watching. Ooh. Snap, lean, snap, lean. Yeah, we gonna get y'all shoulders together. I'm gonna tell y'all, we gonna keep working on this one till we get y'all shoulders right where they need to be. This is Skirt. Hats off with your boy G Dash Jones. Oh man, this week. Ooh, listen, I told you we had a double header. I told you we had a double header. This week is oh man. When I say we got the amazing, right? We got the one representative. I said it. I said it. You see what I'm saying? Former councilwoman. That's right. I said it. Okay, I'm not done saying it though. Okay, I call her that's the people's servant. What? I call her the people's servant. That's it. If y'all don't know, today we will be having a conversation with the candidate for, oh man, Delaware Lieutenant Governor. That's right. I'm talking about Representative Sherrod Dorsey Walker, y'all. Ooh, listen, the conversation that we gonna have today is gonna be good, yet good for your soul. You see what I'm saying? If y'all don't know why everybody loves Miss Sherrod Dorsey Walker, you gonna learn today, right? You will learn this one. This is gonna be a message for you, okay? So listen, so tune in. We're gonna go about it, we're gonna talk about it. Listen, get her up here. We're gonna have an amazing conversation. Also about everything that kind of led up to this point in the past. What? Yes. How are you?
It is well. It is well.
Mm.
It is well with my soul.
Oh, see, you see that? See, listen, I'm talking to them in the back. You see how that felt? Her hello, just you got a hug, right? That's how it felt. she, thought, she just started off hugging folk. Like, come on, man.
That's the
Listen.
plan. That's the plan. That's the plan.
Okay. First and foremost, before I get into it, first thing I got to do, I got to let people know some of the things that are happening coming up. Just want to give people some quick things that's going to happen coming up so that they know. Okay. Now, I'm going to try to be creative with this one. Is there anything that I have a list of things I want to mention, but is there anything that you would like me to mention as well that's coming up?
Sure. We're going to have a comedy show fundraiser on August the 15th at Ezion Fair Fellowship Hall, Ezion Fair Baptist Church Fellowship Hall from 6 to 8.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Curry, for your support.
Oh, Dr. Tracy Curry going to be
Dr. C.T. Curry, the pastor of Ezion
there?
Fair.
Pastor C.T. Curry.
Yes.
Oh,
Dr.
okay. You got
Curry.
okay, we got the Clean Comedy Show on Wednesday, right?
Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a
Thursday.
Thursday. Yes.
There we go. Okay, Clean Comedy Show on at C with Dr. C.T. Curry, pastor. You know, boom, at Ezon Fair. I'm with it. Okay, oh yeah, get yourselves there. That's what y'all supposed to be. All right. So I'm gonna run through a couple of the things, right? I'm thinking, and I try to put it in poetry form sometime. If I can do it off the top of my head in poetry form, then we really in good shape. So we gonna see. Don't judge me
You'll
now.
make it
All
happen.
right. I'm thinking, I'm thinking, I'm thinking. I need you to come on out. When I say come on out, I don't want you to skip a beat. I want you to make sure that when you stand on 2 feet, you do what you're supposed to do so that you can meet and greet at the art loop where you'll see me putting words like this to, you'll see poetry to where the art and let that art soothe your soul and choose to speak. You may even on Saturday find a way to meet at an open street. And the second that you can do what you do, this is when you can play around and smile with the children amongst you. That's all I need you to do. Also, in case you're like, wait, which way am I supposed to go? I'm gonna let you all know. I promise you can come see me, Janice King Art Gallery. She's gonna be doing a fashion show at the Chris White Gallery, and this is where I'll do what I have to do, which is, you know, use the words made for me. At that same time, you can actually take that trip over to the UAE. I know what you're thinking. Well, what are you going to see? Might be Jonathan Whitney's a whole storytelling moment just for you and the whole family to really get inside your spirit. And you know what it's supposed to be. I just need y'all to sit down, take a moment, and enjoy yourself while you hear it. After you choose to leave that, what you can also do, of course, is Saturday, lay back. I probably have a replay of this show up so you can watch that. If you're not sure how to handle your next week, I don't want you to pause too long. I'm just trying to tell you with these words that I speak. See, as you go through, you can also watch the Rebirth live. I promise you that might be made for you. Or you might watch Naj and Jay, because they do on Monday mornings. That's just for you. I'm giving you your options, trying to solve all your problems, trying to make sure that you keep it rocking, because when Tuesday come, there ain't no stopping. By the time you see me, you might even say, oh, wait, where can we go? I know I'll be at the UAE. The concert series is always continuously happening properly, and I get it. I don't want you to go without getting your laughs in, so you can go to Ezon Fair and see the comedy show properly. That's just what's supposed to happen. I'm glad we can update your schedule once again.
Excellent. Excellent.
Just
Well done.
a roll
Well
of
done.
dice.
Well done.
I never know if I'm a see when you hear I wasn't gonna stumble. You see the light
Right.
comes.
Walking in the light, the beautiful light.
So you already know it. Now, okay. Now let's talk to you. I was waiting to talk to you. I've been excited to talk to you. I'll tell you what.
Nice.
Now, people who know Miss Sherry Dorsey, they know everybody had like you have a thing. Everybody just likes you, like literally.
I like
And
everybody.
I don't mean fake like. I mean like they genuinely. It's the thing. Like, I mean, okay, you might have haters, but I don't like. I can't see them saying it out loud. You know what I'm saying? Like,
your haters are your elevators. Always remember that.
And she giving me bars, y'all. Okay, she just hit me with some bars. I didn't expect that. So, in case people aren't aware, can you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Certainly. I previously served on the Wilmington City Council. I served on the Board of Parole, and I just finished my 6-year, third term as a state representative. I recently retired from the position of state representative to pursue the lieutenant governor position full time.
Wow.
So I'm all in. I don't have one foot in one place and one foot in another. I'm 10 toes down in this race.
Oh, okay. Now we gonna get there. I gotta back up a little bit. She said she's 10 toes, y'all. I ain't playing. All right. So I want to back up a little bit. How did your journey begin, kind of leading you into being a public servant? Like, how'd you get there?
It's a great question. This is something I never really desired for myself. What I desired to do, I'm a filmmaker by trade. I own a film production company called SWAP Productions, LLC. SWAP is an acronym for Sisters with a Purpose. I named my company after the nuns who educated me at St. Elizabeth's School, as well as my biological sisters. And I was working on films, and actually go back a little further. When I was 8, I would knock doors with my father and get people elected. By the time I was 12, he was taking me to community meetings. And I remember coming home from a community meeting, and my parents and my Uncle Bubby, who helped raise us, and my Aunt Celeste were saying, listen, if you're going to help others and you're going to be the voice for the voiceless, love and don't judge. And so I did not realize what God was doing in that moment, in those moments. But fast forward to 2012, I'm running for city council. And 2018, become a state representative. So excited about the journey. And then in 2024, I shall be your next lieutenant governor.
Talk about it. Oh, listen, that statement was pure right there. That was hard. Now, but even thinking about that, so you kind of witnessed politics, or at least government and public servitude at an early age. So you got an early concept of it. Did it change over time?
It definitely did, because I didn't want to be involved in it to the extent of being the actual servant. I didn't mind being behind the scenes. And as I would work on films, my crew would always ask me, when are you running for office? And I would say, never. And they would laugh. And they laughed because I guess they could see what I was. Actually, I can say I ran away from the calling, but never, I'm not doing it anymore. And so I am definitely answering the call and have been doing so. So my films were about social justice. I did a film about the juvenile justice system in America and overseas. So we traveled to 50 different cities and traveled abroad, comparing and contrasting juvenile justice systems for about 3 years. And with that film, the Congressional Black Caucus reached out, asked me to screen the project, went to DC and screened it. And it was the first time that the laws regarding juvenile justice had changed since 1974, and that was 2008. Congresswoman, the late Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson helped lead that charge around juvenile justice, along with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee.
So your work with the parole board and around justice started before you were even in office.
It did. It did. It did. I have always had a love for God's people and a love for service. And so being an elected official marries the two. For me, I shall never be a politician. Politicians care about themselves. Public servants care about the people. So the day I become a politician, I'll tender my letter of resignation and never look back.
I know that's right. She said the second if I start giving y'all game, if I start gaming you up a little bit, I'm out.
I'm out.
Because I'm doing it for no reason.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it for the right reasons. And I'm not self-serving. I'm selfless when it comes to this work. I'm selfless within life, period.
Okay. Now, what was the moment that made you first decide to say, you know what? Y'all keep asking me when I'm gonna run for something. I guess I might as well. Okay. How did that happen?
It was, oh my goodness. We were in a community meeting and our city council person was retiring to pursue a higher office. And the community was like, why don't you just run? Why don't you run? And I said in my mind, like, I'm not sure that I really want to do that. But I prayed about it, met with my family, talked to my husband, talked to my mother, my siblings, my aunts and uncles, and we just decided this is a good fit. And of course, talked to my pastor at the time, who was now Bishop Sylvester Scott Beeman. At the time, he was Pastor Beeman, because I'm a member of Bethel AME Church, and just making sure that I was being led properly to do what I was being called to do.
Wow. So you pretty much met with you. And what was your first campaign like? I mean, you had worked around government a lot. You're working around a lot of candidates in life, and you actually also, because of your knowledge of video production, you had an understanding of media that a lot of people just don't.
Absolutely.
So how did that kind of translate into you running for councilwoman?
That's a great story behind that. So I'll tell you, this is the funniest story ever. So our budget was kind of de minimis, if you will. And I would wear my shirt. We had a campaign shirt. I'd wear it all day long, knock doors, the whole 9 yards, and wash it out at night, let it air dry so that the words wouldn't like disappear. and then wear it again and just kept doing it and kept doing it. And that was the first campaign. And winning that one was like, wow, you work with what you have, work with what you have. And people came out, knocked doors with me, and that was a great campaign. Family was actively engaged, and that's how we do it. Family is actively engaged with every single campaign, every election. And it's exciting because it's like you're uniting people around a movement, not a moment.
Ooh, because you don't run for office in a way in which you're just garnering votes, which some people do. You kind of run in a way in which the community is understanding you and behind you. So it's like, well, we are running for office. It's kind of how you.
Absolutely. The community is key. My first slogan was unity in the community, and just bringing people together around wanting to bring about systemic changes in the community. And it works. Like people, it's not that difficult. I think a lot of times it's the wrangling and the nonsense that some people see. And even right now, people are seeing so much negativity, but there are some positive things happening in this arena. I am one of them, and I'm excited about about service at a higher level. You know, the lieutenant governor presides over the Senate and chairs the board of pardons, and so having served on the board of parole and serving on city council and living in the community, born, raised, bred Wilmingtonian, West Side to the day I die. And I always like to say that, but I represent all people. I represent all people. You know, just recently being endorsed by the Kent County Democratic Committee this past Monday. I know some may look at that and be like, wow, how did that even happen? But people see that I am for all people.
Mm. That's why I called you the people's public servant. Like, there's a couple reasons why I called you, but one of them is the fact that when people can gravitate to you, they can kind of see that you're for all people throughout the process, right?
Yes.
Now, okay, so even with that, right? So then you know, you were a councilwoman for a long time before you became a state rep. What made you decide to take that first leap to being a rep?
So that's an interesting story. I was sitting in church, of all places, on a Sunday, and Bishop Beeman, then Pastor Beeman, preached. There's going to be a quickening in your spirit, and you will know that it is God because it can only come from Him. Man can't do what God is about to do in your life. That was Sunday. I'm taking copious notes as I always do when my pastor preaches, my now pastor, Pastor Stanley Hurst II. I always take notes. And I went back and I kept reading it. And that Tuesday, my then state representative retired after 22 years of service. So I'm calling people and asking them, hey, you may want to run for office. And they're like, no, you may want to run for office. We really need you in that seat. So 6 years later, here we are.
Wow. Now, was it hard to transition from being a councilwoman to a state rep?
Not really. No, I was prepared. I was prepared to serve, having served on the Wilmington City Council. But actually, I left out part of that story about when running for a state rep. I remember that, like I said, it was a Sunday. Tuesday, my state rep retired after 22 years of service. And that Friday, my husband is a Mason, a Prince Hall Mason, and we had gone to breakfast. And he said he was about to go to what is known as their grand session. And we went to breakfast and he said, listen, at Just to Serve Black owned restaurant in the city of Wilmington. And he said, I can't stop what God is doing. Go file and run for office. And went filed for ran for office, and here we are.
So just because, listen, I'm naive sometimes, right? And I don't. What are some of the differences between being a state rep and being a councilwoman?
There are some major differences. On city council, which I think is very interesting, is when there are 7 or more members together, then it's almost considered like a meeting. Whereas at the state level, we have the opportunity to caucus about issues before we bring the actual bills to the floor. So before we come to the floor, we go into caucus, we talk about all the bills that are going to be on the agenda, and then our leadership will determine if the bills want to stay on the agenda or if it's going to come off the agenda based on the number of votes that we have in the caucus.
So the level of, I guess, involvement in change is a little bit different now. Like, you almost have a strong, you have more power to a certain extent, a bigger voice.
Certainly, you represent more people. Like on city council, you represent about 20,000 people, and I'm sorry, about 10,000 people. And as a state rep, you represent 22,000 people.
Ooh, okay. Listen, all right, you hitting me with numbers, right? I'm gonna say something, and I just want you to tell me what it means to you, because you brought it up. I didn't bring it up. You brought it up. So when I say this, I want you to tell me what it means to you. Delaware Legislative Black Caucus. You brought it up. You brought caucuses up, not me. So what is that? When you think of Delaware Black Legislative Caucus, what does that mean? Like, what is the, like? Yeah.
So that means in 2018, we had an unprecedented number of 8 Black people who were elected to the General Assembly. And we worked feverishly to ensure that we established the Delaware Legislative Black Caucus, the DLBC. I was the first vice chair of the Black Caucus. Senator Darius Brown was the chair, and Representative Stephanie T. Bolden was our founder, the longest serving Black woman in the state of Delaware. And what we did is we moved as a caucus. We sponsored legislation, we voted on legislation, and we there are 16 of us now down in Dover. And legislation can't move without members of the Black Caucus agreeing to the legislation.
Ooh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. I gotta talk to the people in the back real quick. Hey, by the way, in case y'all don't know, right? And I'm not getting into politics right now, but I'm gonna tell y'all a couple things, right? A lot of times what they don't tell us is how needles are moved for people in general, right? There's two things that are heavy into that: the caucus, the lobbyists. These are things that happen before the law gets even into vote. The caucus and the lobbyists have to decide that that's what they're really. The lobbyists put the money behind it. The caucus actually gets it there. That's just what happens. I'm not specifying anything else, but that's what happens. So when we have a Black caucus, what does that mean? That means that now there is a say-so. They have to listen to the voice. They can't just go on and do whatever they want, and actually at times only listen to the lobbyists or only listen to who's paying them. Not saying that happens, but sometimes you need guaranteed representation, and that Black caucus becomes guaranteed representation. That's it.
You want to ensure that when you have members who are in Dover, that the people are speaking to the needs of the individuals, such as House Bill 267. That bill deals with child support, and it says that the state can no longer revoke someone's license for willfully paying their child support, and they can no longer incarcerate. That came from listening to the constituents and seeing how the non-custodial parent is missing out of the child's life. If you take a person's license away and they can't go drive to see their child, and they may not be able to afford a DART bus, then you put them in jail for willfully paying the child support. You're now removing the non-custodial parent from the child's life. There are things that we can do as legislators to help reunify families, and that was one of them.
Absolutely. And by the way, in case some of y'all is arguing because you're mad that he didn't pay, we're not talking about him who didn't pay. Willfully paid, meaning he gave the money out his pocket. They didn't have to garnish it. That about the active people involved in this moment that would be punished just because of the way that the law was written. And this is when we need
not the ones who aren't paying. It's the ones. So say if the order is $1,000, but the non-custodial parent is paying $900. There's no rhyme or reason why the individual should go to jail or have their license revoked for $100. And that's what actually was happening in the state of Delaware, what will no longer happen. Again, this is not to say if you are not paying your child support, there do need to be some ramifications and repercussions. But those who are willfully paying it, let's continue to work with those non-custodial parents. And it's for both men and women.
Ooh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, okay, right now you've done a lot. Like you have, it's one of the reasons why I call you the people's public servant, right? Is when I say you've done a lot, right? We mentioned one law, right? But literally some of the things from you created a basketball camp, a girls' basketball camp, which I'm almost curious if you hoop. I feel like you used to hoop. I feel like you had a shot or something. Yeah, like y'all ain't want to see Sherry on the court. You know what I'm saying? They just called her Sherry D back then. She's gonna give it. Listen, but what made you kind of start that and kind of even get into, because that's outside of the actual government world. You create these own foundations, and you're on a lot of boards too.
Certainly. So Above the Rim Basketball League, the reason what we did is we created a league for our children. When I was first elected as a city councilwoman, that's a great question that you mentioned. When I was first elected as a city councilwoman, what I did is I sat down with my children in my district, and every child in the state of Delaware is my baby. I sat down with the children, and many asked me, why would you sit with the children? They didn't vote for you. I said, but their parents did, and they will ultimately be voters. And so in order for our children to want to be engaged in the process, they have to feel like they're part of the process. So that's the inclusion part. And so we've been doing DEI, the Sherry Dorsey Walker way, for years. Now it has a title, but nevertheless, my baby said we'd like a basketball league. And I said, okay, if you like a basketball league, then here are some parameters. You must wear your pants above your waist. You must go to school, and there's no cursing on the court. And so it was males and females, and they said, okay, we agreed to that. And ultimately, what happened is through that basketball league, my babies in the community started to have really good relationships with the Wilmington Police Department. Fire People don't have issues with fire department, but fire and police would come and watch the games. And then police would take it a step further and go check on my babies in the school, not to go incarcerate them or a situation and create problems, but to create that love from public safety. And so when my children were ready to graduate, they were inviting the police officers to the graduations. So these are the kinds of things that we as legislators, we can bridge the divide. So often there's so much nonsense happening, but we can be the peacemakers. We have the ability to do it. Let me say that some of us have the ability to do it because we desire to bring about the changes that we would like to see. And so that's what happened. Partnered with the Christina School District at the time. Donald Patton was the principal at the Byard School, and he would let us use the gym on the weekends so that we could keep our children out of trouble. And it was amazing because our children helped run the league, and they felt like they were a part of something. So once people feel like they're a part of something, they treat it differently. Same with neighborhoods. So any legislation on which I'm working, I involve the community too. So House Bill 263, that was a bill that was brought to me by the community. Community members were like, listen, we my we have an outstanding meal bill, and we can't afford the meals at the schools. Only 3 school districts cover meals: Christina, Colonial, and Capital. The other 16 did not. And so if a parent had an outstanding meal bill, then the child could not participate in extracurricular activities. Well, extracurricular activities are how you enhance one's mental health. So you're telling me that a child can't go to the prom, can't go to homecoming, can't participate with yearbook or band, the very things that help stimulate our young people. So 263 abolished the practice of poverty shaming.
Now, okay, again, God just talk to people in the back, just make sure they understand something real quick. Just so you know, a lot of things happen when if for whatever reason you're already in a impoverished situation and you might not be able to afford the meal bill for whatever reason life is happening. Then if the child then starts to suffer, that child winds up in a cycle because that child may do whatever they got to do to not be suffering.
Exactly.
So now, once you start taking things away, that child's going to have to do whatever they can to help do it themselves, which might not be the best circumstance for anyone. So that's why we need moments like this.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Ooh.
So
Yeah, so you was moving needles left. You was moving needles like a DJ, okay? You was just moving. Oh, how do you have time to do it? It's a lot. Like you're on literally. You're a chairman of the board. Shouts out to the Teen Warehouse.
Yeah.
You're literally. It looks like you might be on probably 4 or 5 different boards at least. You work with Public Allies, and that's not including the actual committees within the spectrum of the job you've held. How do you have time?
Oh, God, family, and grace and mercy, and just managing the time, because the things that matter to you, you will do them, and the things that don't matter, you won't. And so it mattered to me being a legislator. It matters to me being not just a legislator, but a concerned, caring legislator. And which brings me to House Bill 198, adding Black history to the state's curriculum. When my babies came to me and said, we don't see ourselves reflected in the curriculum and in our classwork, I said, well, let's change that. Partner with Dr. Adriana Bohm and partnered with many entities up and down the state. And as a result of this particular piece of legislation, my babies created the Delaware Black, what is it? Delaware Black Student Coalition. And it was students from as far south as Selbyville to as far north as Claymont. And our babies came together around this particular piece of legislation because they wanted to see the change. Again, inclusion, equity, And then we talk about diversity. Well, diversity is you just throw a black face in a room or a Hispanic face and call that diversity. Inclusion is having people at the table. And so that's where we, as a people, as a community, as a society, have to do a better job of having different voices magnified. So my babies, who are now, many of them are in college, some are still in high school, but many are in college, and they're shifters. They're president of one of my babies just finished her term as the president of the Student Government Association at Howard University. Another one of my babies just was elected as the vice president at Howard University. Another one of my babies is in student government at University of Virginia. My Bowie State, my babies are all over the place doing great things, and they will tell you, Mom Sherry, Aunt Sherry, whatever they call me, made me feel like I could do anything. And I said to them, they made me feel like I could do anything. Because when it was time for that 4-hour hearing to get that legislation passed, they had to be prepared, just like John Lewis had to be prepared to sit at that lunch counter. My babies were prepared for all the microaggressions that were coming their way, but they were ready. They were ready. And so they helped me get House Bill 119 passed, adding Juneteenth as a permanent paid state holiday. So when I work on legislation, I make sure that I bring the multitudes of people together. House Bill 195, putting body-worn cameras on every single police officer up and down the state, making that a bipartisan issue that received Republican and Democratic votes. And every bill that I mentioned received just that bipartisan support, Democratic and Republican votes. I don't have to interact at all with Republicans because we have a supermajority. I make it my business to interact with them because I don't want them ever feeling like that I'm working on something and they're not a part of it. So yes, I'm a Democrat, but I'm also a human being and a child of the Most High. And so when they know that I'm working on something, I go talk to them. I enter the floor from their side of the floor every time. Why? Because I want them to feel like whatever I'm doing, you're a part of it.
By the way, I'm clipping that part. So, all right, here's the thing. Because you was cooking. You was cooking. Oh, and I got a question out of that. Because, okay, right. So you make your way, to the rounds to help with all the people, make sure that you can truly properly represent the culture in the community. Does it ever get difficult with, when you have to deal with politicians who at times are just so about their agenda or about whatever that, and it's like, all right, we not like how do you manage even the good old boys club, as they call them, or things like that?
Prayer, 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 staying in prayer, because it is easy to rearrange the furniture in the room, but the best way to handle those situations where you may want to do that is to pray and get the grace, operate in grace, and extend mercy, even when some aren't deserving of it. Staying true to who you are and whose you are. Because see, I didn't change when I was in that room. I didn't become someone else. I didn't say, okay, well, they made me angry, so now I'm going to show them the good old West Side in me. I didn't do that. Now I could. And there were times when I had to share with them respectfully that you won't disrespect me. But I'm always respectful. I'm always kind. I'm not going to let that arena change me. I won't be conformed to the world, but transformed by the renewing of my mind.
I'm gonna tell you why that's beautiful to me. We live in a world where I believe, without going too deep, I think the political world has gotten polarized by things that are more attention grabby and clout chasey than actual policy driven moments, and actually about community and change, right? So the fact that you are like, nah, I don't have to play their games, to establish myself. I've already built this, right? That to me is very, very, very refreshing, and it's probably hard to do for a lot of people. Like, I feel like that, because sometimes you just want to let them know who they are. Like, you know what I'm saying? You be like, like,
But I'm also an AKA, so you know that there's always that grace that gets extended to.
that's a fact. Do you feel like that has impacted kind of how you are as a candidate? Like the fact that you pledged?
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm.
No, you gotta tell me more. We can't just leave it at a yes. I need to. I'm learning now.
Yes. Yes. When you have the opportunity to form bonds with individuals and grow together, you want to take that everywhere you go. You want to take that level of sisterhood with you. I'm talking about in my organization. It's the same with brotherhoods. You want that to be with you at all times. And so that's how I approach what I do. And so the principles of the sorority, scholarship, sisterhood, and service to all mankind, I carry them with me because it's important to me that people see something different in me, whether it's the God in me or being a member of the sorority or just being a resident of the west side of Wilmington, a Wilmingtonian, or Delawarean, whatever that is. But I need people to see something different.
Absolutely, I'm here for it. Okay. I ain't gonna keep you too much long. I got a couple more though. Was there a moment that let you know that being in being a government servant in that world is your calling? Like because you were in video production, and I'm sure sometimes you probably eyeing things up like I wasn't mine. You know what I mean? Somebody give me a camera real quick. Watch me do something. You know what I'm saying? But how did you know that this is your calling? You still do that? Wait, you still shoot? You still shoot?
I still shoot. I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
well, so do you still plan on kind of putting out productions as well?
Absolutely, without question. Reverend Dawn Christopher prayed over me one day, and she prayed that the two would be married, that my work as a public servant and my work as a filmmaker, that the two would be married. And, that prayer is coming to pass.
Oh, so we can look forward to, there's some production things that we will see in the future. It's going to get things going.
Amen.
I am prepared to be moved by the Spirit. You got me talking now. All right.
See, it rubs off. It's contagious. It's spirit's transferable.
I know that's right. I know that's right. So okay. But was there a moment that let you know that this was your calling?
Yes. And there were moments, but I can honestly say that being in the community, I've been to more homegoings for children than I have seniors over the last few years. And as starting out as a legislator, that is disconcerting. Getting a call to come to the scene of a situation and comforting a mother and father, grandmother, aunts, uncles, siblings, that's a lot. And sometimes God will have you go through something yourself so that you can understand what other people are enduring. And you have empathy, but you can also have you have clarity about why you don't know how everybody feels about every situation, but you may have an idea of where that individual is in his or her journey because you may have walked that same path. And that's what I feel a lot of legislators, I don't have a lot of legislators, there are more good ones than bad ones. But the ones who aren't concerned about the people, the people, need to weed them out of the legislature, whatever body of government it is. People have the power. So often the people feel like we're the ones with the power. You're the ones who have given us the power. So make sure you remember that.
Yes. I'm the fact that you empower people the way you do is how I know that it's your calling. Because to be a public servant and then I believe that leadership is a position of servitude. Period. If you're leading people, technically you should be serving them and supporting them. That's what that's supposed to be. A lot of people don't embody it that way, but you do. You make that like a thing for you, right? Like that's almost paramount in a lot of ways. What are some of your proudest moments based, like, you've done a lot. What are some of the proudest moments that you have from, within your career?
Having Grandma Opally come here for the bill signing for House Bill 119, making Juneteenth a permanent paid state holiday, standing next to her as she talked about her journey with making Juneteenth a national holiday, and having her here in the state of Delaware. That's a very memorable moment. Someone of her stature and her commitment to public service. Another, I guess, another moment is seeing my mother, as my father has since gone on to glory. He was a Vietnam War veteran. Seeing my mother when I drove her down a street where my parents were denied housing in the very district where I represent a portion of the district. And some of those same people who denied my parents housing still live in the district, and taking my mother for a ride, and those individuals having my sign in their yard.
Wow. Did she say she for the people? That's why I call you the the people's public servant. When the people who didn't even want us to live there, now, like, well, but go ahead and vote for Sherry, please.
Put your sign in the yard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the ones. Okay, I'm assuming that is faith and prayer, but I gotta ask, how did you not hold the animosity? How did you let go of the things that you saw over time? Because it's really, that's the human complex. Sometimes we see some stuff and we be like, and you'll put it to the side and be like, nah, I gotta start. How do you do that?
Well, I can't stay stuck, because in staying stuck, that means that I wouldn't be able to be an effective leader for the people. So yes, don't misunderstand me. There are times when some situations and circumstances have arisen. They didn't need to exist. Some people just like confusion and they live for it. That's not how I live my life. I'm not going to start living my life that way because I've entered this arena, or I'm in this arena. Not entered it, but I'm in this arena. And I know that it is important that I'm not like everybody else. And so I don't harbor anger, but I'm mindful of what has taken place. Oh, I'm very mindful. And I I remember, because in remembering, it's like history. You don't want it to repeat itself when it's not good history. So you just want to ensure that, and I make it my business to stay close to my family, my faith, and I have forgiveness in my heart. Even if one doesn't ask for it, I'll move forward because I'm not going to allow a situation or circumstance to hinder me.
Ooh. That bless your soul, because that's how you let it go. Because you see a lot of the situations, and you got to be able to let it go to be able to move on and not carry that weight with you and not allow it to affect your future decisions, in a negative light. Right now, just because I need to understand how this works. So between councilwoman, right, state representative, right, video production company, boom, right, overall chairwoman, board member, overall lovable inner city figure, and then you said, I retired. Psych, I want to be a lieutenant. I want to be. That's what you did. That's what you did. What made you say, I'm not going to just kick my feet up? I'm going to go to be a lieutenant governor now. I want to be the Delaware lieutenant governor. I'm going to jump into that. What made you pivot again?
Answering a call. There's only one that's chosen and anointed and appointed for such a time as this, and that is me.
Okay, all right. Well, let me peel a layer back, because I want to make sure I know. So in that lieutenant governor, what made that pop into your brain, to be like, oh, maybe this is the next, how, or did it just come to you?
So, as I mentioned, the lieutenant governor presides over the Senate and chairs the Board of Pardons. And the Board of Pardons is the opportunity Well, first off, we've never had a person who looks like me or you to be the chair of the Board of Pardons. And a lot of people who come before the Board of Pardons look like you and me. And so people are making decisions about the lives of individuals where they've never really walked in their shoes or their moccasins. And so it is important that we have representation at the table, representation that understands the community, that understands that when you live in the city, any, it's not, in particular, Wilmington and Dover, and Seaford too, you literally can be one car ride away from a felony. Your friend can pick you up. It's a hot day. It's been hot over the last 12 days or so. Your friend has air, the windows up. You get in the car, you're walking home from work. You don't know that your friend has a gun in the car. You don't know that your friend may have some paraphernalia in the car that's illegal. And now you have a felony just from getting in the car. The innocence of it. Now you have to spend countless hours to get your life back. You need people at the table who understand that maybe it was just a simple mistake. Now there are those, not despair, and I'm not dismissing some of the other situations that are real crimes, and I'm mindful of that. But people can change. And it leads me to House Bill 70, abolishing the death penalty. It's a process, and it took time to get to a place of getting rid of the death penalty in the state of Delaware, but it's something I worked on for over a decade with Representative Sean Lynn and Reverend Rita Page and Bishop Aretha Morton before she went on to glory, and and Elder Ray and so many others. We worked, Sally Milbury Steen, just working to abolish the death penalty in the state of Delaware, because you cannot be redeemed if you're dead. But if someone's serving life without the possibility of parole, and that individual may, whoever they call them, it may be Buddha who speaks to them, it may be Allah who speaks to them. I call him Jesus. But something can happen while you are sitting down to transform your life. It may be Yahweh. You may decide you're going to be Jewish. But if you're dead, there's no redemption in that.
Yes. I listen, I appreciate it. I think that we need it, right? Because I'm not comfortable personally with knowing that somebody could get pulled over and just their friend had left something in the car and now they are living life behind cells, and then somebody else might have 35 felonies and be chilling. So you gotta I ain't saying that, right? I want fairness. So
Access to equity, right?
Like, listen, you made one mistake at 17. Somebody could be 78 and it's cool. It's weird. So
I love you.
I love you back. Now, okay. All right. Now, with all that said, I like to ask everybody this question, and I'm very curious to see your answer. Especially well, I'm gonna ask you this first. How have you seen, you've seen politics change, right? Like legit, you've seen government change, government, public servitude, and politics change. What are some of the things that stick out to you over time, right? That keep you being not only just like a career public servant, but not a career politician. See what I'm saying? Like there's a big difference in that. But throughout all the changes, what are some of the things that stick out?
Respect. One of the things that I see that's lacking in this arena is respect. And so if I can bring that respect and that integrity back to this arena, then use me as a vessel, Lord. That's what keeps me going, knowing that I'm Sherry the shifter. I'm going to shift the atmosphere by the tools that I have been given.
All right, now I love it. So with that said, the question I like to ask all my guests is, if you had to advise a younger version of yourself, but little Sharon, just little Sharon,
Sherry pie.
little Sharon, you know it. but the year is still 2024, right? So all the distractions, all the things are still happening, but it's you. What advice would you advise to a younger version of yourself in this climate?
Do not allow the distractions to keep you from where you're supposed to be going in life. Distractions are just that. If you focus on the distraction, it will keep you from the attraction.
Man, listen, I know Sherry Pie had bars. I don't care what nobody say. She used to ball. She used to have bars. Listen, 2 years ago.
I still have wheels, though. I still have wheels. I ran track. So, we talk about the Team Warehouse. I'd like to just say one thing about that. I'm the co-chairwoman of the Team Warehouse because my other chair is a teenager. And so I like to always point out that the co-chair of the Team Warehouse is actually a young person. And that's important that we start training our children to look at budgets, to see how nonprofits operate so that when they take over, when we pass the baton to them, and I told you I ran track, so I would usually have the baton passed to me because I was the anchor. So when the baton gets passed to you, you must be ready. And so this is what it is. It's about preparation. It's not, and so often some people are concerned about, oh, this person may take my seat. I want you to come. I want you to be the next. I desire for you to be at the table. I don't have fear and trepidation about preparing the next. We need a deep bench. I love sports. In baseball, you have to have a bench. So when it's time to call up the next pitcher, the pitcher is ready.
Yes.
And we as a community, we must do a better job. And we as Democrats, we must do period, regardless of partisan politics, period. We must do a better job of training the next. Who has next? I do for Lieutenant Governor.
Yes, don't get me started because I think the world has an issue when they can't train certain things or they don't want to look at building it. They just try to throw it away. And it's like, you got to figure out, wait, how can we iron out that little wrinkle it got and kind of fix it? That's important. I'm with you. Can you please, is it okay to shout out the person's name, the young person's name who's the co-chair with you? And give them their flowers.
Ayanna Patterson. She's
Shout
a student at the Delaware State University right now. She's a Hornet Rising.
Right. Shouts out to you, Ayanna Patterson. Guess who made it? You did. That's it. Look at you. Helping the Team Warehouse. By the way, in case people don't know, the Team Warehouse is something that was put in what was considered an impoverished neighborhood at times. But it gives the young people a place to go, things to do, activities to build so that they can all kind of come up and kind of stay focused throughout that. At some point, I need to talk to Logan. So if you watch this, you need to sit with me, brother.
Teams, yes.
Yes. Woo. Thank you so much for joining my show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. This was I'm gonna say one of my favorite things about this conversation, and I'm saying it here, is not only did we kind of talk about your story, we talked about the real change that you made and the real change that you've made in community, which it's not just a bunch of side talk. This was passed. You're the first public servant I've had on my platform. So I'm careful about that. So that means a lot to me that we were able to kind of get to it. Now I tell people, if you get, and you know this because you've done this before, I'm gonna put that out again. But I tell people, if you give me a word, I give you a poem. Now, while you think of a word, I gotta give a couple moments of gratitude. You gotta do a quick hat tip. Blip blip. I say I'm gonna do a quick hat tip. Blip blip. 2 0. Okay. Shouts out to the open mic jam session that was last Wednesday at the Wilmington Library. That's a fact. Oh man, I had C434 out on playing the keys. It was an amazing situation. I haven't hosted that in a long time. Shouts out to Ronan Ali, who's their staple. Shouts out to everybody with the Delaware Music Network. Also a hat tip. Blip, blip. To Nataki. Oh man, listen, the Atypical Society that was just rocking out over on Route 9 Library. Yes, I got a little footage of that I'm going to put out soon. But shouts out to them giving the youth not only the opportunity to kind of create with art, but also to be able to move the needle with art. So I got to give a good salute to you as well for that. Also had tip. Also, if y'all don't know what happens down at that UAE, shouts out to Dubé. Dubé was a Grammy Award-winning artist over at that, and she performed at that UAE during that concert series. So, and I was, I host that open space for that, but she came all the way from the Ivory Coast to rock out on that stage. And then Moto, shouts out to them. Look them up. They I got some free, I got some chicken. I did. It was delicious. I did. They was out there. So look up Moto. They had the delicious. It was like Soras. I'm saying it wrong, but it was good. All right. Also, the Northside Food and Cultural Market. Shouting out to them. Oh yes. If y'all don't know, they was right on Northside giving out food. People were purchasing food as well. You was able to get your healthy food, get your good stuff, get it good for you. All right, so just a couple hat tips. Also, listen, my people Shane and Shane. Listen, y'all might know her as a Travel Marina or Blue Tulip, but you'll see her. She got a whole billboard for the past situation working with the kids and things like that. So, just giving out moments of gratitude. Anything you want to say, anything you want, I gotta give you one too. Y'all don't know what Sherry Dorsey did. She listed a couple things she just did. Like she did. She listed them during the show. Like you can tell. There's more though. I promise you. She gave you the short list today. It's crazy. I was reading through it. I was like, oh, still alive. So, anybody you want to give a moment of gratitude for?
Just thank you to everyone who's supporting Sherry Dorsey Walker for Lieutenant Governor 2024. I have an amazing team, a great team of people. I'm so grateful to have the team that I have. They work tirelessly to ensure that we are getting to that place of victory. And a special shout out to everyone who helped work on 273, House Bill 273, speech therapy, to ensure that all of our babies have access to speech therapy, because if our children can't express themselves verbally, they will express themselves another way. So let's take care of it on the front end so we don't have to worry about it on the back end. So grateful that we were able to get that passed unanimously in the House. Yes.
Look, man, listen, she slid in another bill. Okay, I don't understand. She slid in another bill. There's a joke I got, because listen, I used to have a stutter. I had to go through, I had to figure it out. The things we saw in the last week, the people who needed that. So good for it. It's been a lot happening now.
You know what? And I've been married, so shout out to my husband.
That's it.
Well, we've been married for 20 years, so I'm married to my college sweetheart. Yes.
What?
Yes.
Yes. A dub? What? Shouts out to Black Love for a dub, you heard me?
That's right.
Oh, that is beautiful. Oh, man. Shout out to, what's his name? Go ahead. We got to say his name.
Dwight Walker.
Brother Dwight. Let's answering the calling. Okay? Answering the calling.
Yes. Special shout out to my campaign manager, Horace Knight, Aaron Knight, Dr. Christine Holt, just the whole entire team. We're Shy Jones, Brenda Jones. We're just so blessed with Amanda Chapman. I can go on and on and on. Curie Lacey, just so many people who are actively engaged with this campaign and want to see us not just get to the finish line, but cross it. And as I told you, I ran track, so catch me.
That's a fact. Listen, I'm trying to tell you, she'd be out. Okay. Now, do you have a word for me?
Grace.
Oh, child. Okay. All right. I'm thinking. I gotta give it to you. Okay. I know probably what you're asking or wondering why or how much I have to deliver to you. See, what I have to understand is I can't judge by the mirror, and if I do, then I can't look at myself in such anguish from the moments of failure that I didn't make it through. See, I have to give it to you. What that means is sometimes what has to be delivered isn't going to feel good to me. It's not going to feel like it's what I want, but it's going to feel like what it should be. It's going to feel like me understanding why you took the time to say what you had to say, why life pushed you to the point why you may have to act this way, why we don't have the same experiences, so I don't have to ask you to challenge this feeling so that you can automatically experience this. You can't. I got to give you this. I got to give you this moment to breathe, this moment to walk around and walk away, this moment to understand why we must leave, the moment to understand why it's better for you to be truthful with me than to practice the moments to deceive. See, that's the only way that we can properly succeed. See, I got to give it to you because they're going to want to judge you and they're going to want to slam the door. Okay. I'm sorry. I sometimes I'm not saying it well. What I mean is they're gonna want to slam the cell and make sure that you don't get a moment to breathe before they make that judgment. See, I don't want you to just pause and freeze with your pearls clutching. I don't want you to always have to feel like you gotta fight back or find something to bust it. No. I want you to listen to it. I want you to hear your spirit speaking, and then I want you to trust it. It's not easy to do it, and I don't expect you to always try to save face. But I do ask you to empathize because sometimes the things that are trials and tribulations are traumatic and they come supersized, and the only way to understand that for each other is to give it to them. Grace. Thank you.
Oh, that was wonderful. Ah, praise God. Grace, that my mother turned 80 on Sunday. Grace.
Listen. Oh, yeah, shout out to Mama Dorsey.
Yeah.
Oh, she made it. Listen. I like it. Oh, thank you so much for joining the show. This has been an awesome show. Anybody, listen, you was watching in the back, rewind it. There's some gems you dropped. Pick them up.
We have a debate on July 15th at Canaan Baptist Church, 6 o'clock. Everyone's welcome to join us. Yes.
Somebody's debating you. Who's debating you?
Well,
Don't worry. Listen, come see it if you don't want. They go. Never mind. I don't want to say nothing smart. I would just let it go because we'll fire off right now. But listen, come to the debate. But you listen and vote. Y'all know what it is. Do what you got to do. And I ain't gonna talk too much politics on my show. Listen, I know they're good people, so that's just how I feel about things. I don't play with this. So
send to the website, SherryDorseyWalker.com.
Yes. You go to the website, you'll see all the things that she, like I said, this is a handful, like a snack size of the work that was put in. There's the real work and there's people who can't talk about it. This is the real work here. So thank you again for joining the Hats Off with G-Jones. I'll see y'all next week. Oh, by the way, I got to mention, shouts out to Darnell Miller. That was the opening song called Still Moving On. My man Darnell Miller getting the funk. I like to do that. This is the second episode this week. If you missed the one with Breakout, go and watch that one as well. It's a good time. With that said, love yourself first and everything else will fall into place. I'll see y'all next week. All right?
Thank you for having me. Love you.
Woo! You know it.